Hey everybody, welcome to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford. The point of this show is to help improve ourselves as dogmen and to raise the quality of the dogs on the end of our lead. So let's settle in, turn the volume up, and let's see if we can't learn a trick or two together from our guests.
With me living so close to the Mississippi River, a lot of the big farms that I hunt are up and down the river, or some of it are behind the levee, what we call behind the levee, which is it's the portion of the river that's between the Mississippi River levee and the Arkansas side of the Mississippi River, the levee. And there's a club that back when I was a kid, there's a big lake called Lakeview, and it was public hunting. It was a pay lake. You paid, you went and hunted, and it was good fishing. And when one year the river flooded so bad, this lake had led to another lake. That chute led to another lake and then into the river. The river flooded, and all these Asian carp got into the lakes, and it just ruined the fishing. And they were losing money. So some big hunting club came in and bought all of it. It's 10,000 acres right there. And every February they call me, and I go up there they give me 2 nights in February. Now this is one of those big money, buy-in type clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Their clubhouse has an 11-car parking garage on the bottom floor.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it is. It's an amazing place. So they let me come in, and most of the time we have to hunt out of a boat. And this particular night, the water was out of the banks of the river. So out of 10,000 acres, about 6,000 of it was flooded underwater. So what we done, we launched the boat at one of their boat ramps, and we rode it was about 5 miles, winding through to get to where we could turn the dogs loose. And I had Crockett at this time. He was probably between 4 and 5 year old, and I had Chrome. She was probably a 6-year-old. And I had kind of quit hunting Chrome at night so much and was hunting her a lot during the day. And Crockett had been my primary coon dog. And so a buddy of mine, his dad, and then another buddy of mine that had a bigger boat than I did, we all went. So we hit the boat launch probably, best I remember, about 8:15 at night. By the time we went to the clubhouse and talked to the guys, and they kind of give us an overview of, where the dry ground was at. And what we would do was we would go down the edge of this lake, and when we'd get to the chutes on either side of the chute would be, it'd be 100 yards of dry on both sides. And we would turn Crockett. We would just pull up there and turn Crockett loose and send him down, either the dry. He couldn't get out of pocket real bad because he just wouldn't know where to go with all the water. And the water was beginning to recede, and it was the most unbelievable night of hunting that I think I've had as far as things that we seen that night. Because this place was so big and so flooded, we were watching deer coming off the levees, swimming across the lakes in front of us, going back to their home. You could see coons literally coming out of trees, swimming as far as they could, go up another tree, rest. It was just crazy. People don't even believe some of the stories about that night. But so we turned the dog. We would put Chrome on one side and Crockett on the other, and Crockett was one of those dogs that just made coons. He was a coon freer. Big mouth, big locate. He would roll a big ball locate over into a chop, and he was so accurate when he treed. You pretty much shot a coon most every time. And anyway, this night, man, it was just he was treeing coon after coon after coon, and we would tree, 4 or 5, and then the guy in the boat would kind of ease down the chute, pick us up. We'd go down a little bit, maybe hit one of the other lakes, go around the edge of that lake, just I can remember several trees where Croman and Crockett would be standing on the bow of the boat, and we would just be easing because it was just big cypress breaks, and we'd be easing from one side to the next, navigating through the cypress, and Crockett would stiffen up on the front of the boat, just let out a big locate, and we would stop and we would grab limbs of these trees to hold us steady and start looking up, and there'd be a coon laid up above us, and we'd shoot it out, get a dip net, we'd dip it over in the boat, and we just keep easing down these chutes. And he probably treed 4 or 5 that night from the boat that he never even got on dirt. And if it was a double, we shot a double out. But in all, we hit the boat ramp as the duck hunters. They were coming out to I guess it was time to get all their decoys out. It was like the weekend after duck season was over, and they were out clearing blinds. So it was breaking day when the duck hunters were heading out to, get all their stuff out. We were coming in, and we looked at a total of 40 coons that night, and we knocked out 23 of them. It was crazy. It was amazing.
A lot of people consider that a good season.
Yeah. I think I killed. Like I said, I didn't hunt then. I wasn't hunting chrome a lot at night. Just if we were going on like something like this where I knew we were going to be there for 6, 7, 8 hours, and I would need a fresh dog to rotate. I was primarily hunting Crockett, and I'd hunt my big Sioux dog some. She was just older. She was 10. But I think we killed around 180, maybe 190 coon that year with Crockett.
Really?
You can kill all you want here. You kill one coon, 10 come to funeral. I mean, it's I catch slack all the time on Facebook because, there's no need in killing. Sometimes we'll kill 15 or 16 coon a night. And I mean, I go on some of these big private farms. That's the deal. If they catch me out there treeing coon, not shooting them, they're going to call somebody else. They're going to have somebody come poison them, or they're going to have somebody come trap them out. And I don't want to be able to take my dogs in there and tree. So we just shoot all we want.
Well, it sounds like fun.
And when I had a dog like Crockett, that would just, man, we would hunt him in the pouring rain. I mean, wind. I mean, it's summertime. It just didn't matter. I ain't saying that he looked great all the time, because there were times in the summertime it'd be hot and dry, 100 degrees. And, he would look good out of the gate, then he would slow down. But he always seemed to produce a coon. I hunted mostly with hounds, my buddies with hounds. And even nights that all the dogs would be struggling, they would say, all right, get Crockett out one more time. We're not going home with nothing. And it seemed like, bottom of the ninth, last inning, you get Crockett out of the truck and he'd just make it happen.
You are listening to Slick Tree Podcast, and this is the second episode of the Good Old Dog series. And tonight we have Jeremy Garner joining us on the phone, and we're talking about his dog, Cane Creek Crockett. How you doing tonight, Jeremy?
Excellent. Had a good day. Had a good weekend. Sitting here having a little drink. Good times.
Yeah. We all know how picky you are when it comes to dogs. Anybody that follows you anyways. You go through them pretty quick if they don't suit you. What is it that you just love so much about Crockett? What was it that just he had that most of them don't?
Well, honestly, to start out with, Crockett was essentially, he was a cull. By the time I found him, he'd already been to three different folks. Jeremy McQuarrie up in Kentucky, he's a game warden in Kentucky. He ended up with him there at the end, and he called me, and Crockett just opened on the ground too much for him for squirrel. And I ended up trading. I was looking for something off of Tim Coates' Tank Dog, and I got word that Jeremy had something, so I left him a message. He called me back, and we made a deal. I traded him a shotgun. Me and my wife drove up and got Crockett, and when I got up there, he just, what I like in the dog, for one, the size. He had the size I like. He had that big, broad, wide head. He had the mud flaps. He had the paint job. He was Brenda with a black blanket, saddleback. um, and when we got him home, he had just he'd been through the ringer, you know. So my wife brought him in the house for a month. And at first I thought, man, you know, maybe I done made a mistake, because he had never really treated coon when I got him. He just treated a few squirrels. My wife brought him in the house for a month and wouldn't even let me take him hunting. I didn't really do nothing with him for the first month we had him. She brought him in and just loved on him and petted on him and let him lay around the couch. And the first time I took him to the woods, and like you said, I'm extremely particular about a dog. A dog has to show me something really quick. I know what I'm wanting in a dog, and I know they're out there. And if I don't see it, I don't waste my time with it. I don't, you know, I'm moving on, and I just look for those natural starting dogs, the ones that all you have to do is take them to the woods. If you've got to do a lot of work with them, that's not what I'm looking for. And I mean, the first time I took Crockett to the woods, he didn't act like a dog that had not been fooled with or didn't like. You know, he spent probably 10 months of his life in the kennel, didn't even have a name before Jeremy got him. Anyway, he just took to hunting. He didn't stand around my feet. You know, a lot of dogs, you get a dog at 11, 12 months old that's not been much done to it. It's pretty much like hunting a pup, you know, especially if they've been passed around. A lot of them, you know, they don't want to hunt. They want to stand around your feet. You got to walk them. And I don't walk a dog. And Crockett didn't do that. I mean, now he wasn't a super deep hunting dog. He was maybe, you know, 500, 600, 800 yards at the most. But from the get-go, he wanted to go hunt. And he wanted to please. And you didn't really have to get on to him for much. You could kind of browbeat him. You could look at him and raise your eyebrows, and he knew, you know, that's not what you want. That's not what he's wanting of me. So right off the bat, he had something I liked. He had the want to. What some people call it drive or prey drive or game drive or whatever. I just call it want to. He had the want to go hunt without me asking him to. You unsnap him, he went looking for something. And I started him on squirrel. The first time I heard that dog really come treat on a hot squirrel, it man, I mean, huge, big old ball locate. I mean, long, drawn out ball locate and just rolled right over to a chop. Very, very hard to find in a cur dog these days. Even then, I'm trying to think. I was trying to think what year that was, but I mean, even then, it was, you know, starting to get hard to find those type dogs. But he just progressed so fast from nothing to treating a limit of squirrels with him in just a couple months. Once he got to treeing too many squirrels, I stopped squirrel hunting him, because I cannot stand to go hunting at night with a dog that trees squirrels. And it's hard for a lot of cur dogs that if you hunt them during the day and you hunt them at night, you're going to have to put up with it. So I quit hunting him during the day, and I rolled him right over to hunting him at night. And, man, he just took to it so natural. You know, that's what I was saying about I don't want dogs that you have to put a lot of work into. I want to take them to the woods where there's a lot of coon, unsnap them, they go hunt and get treed. If they'll do that on their own, big mouth, big dog, I mean, they already are up on my scale of what I'm looking for. And he just progressed. I mean, that's what really made me like him in the beginning. I mean, I didn't love him. I liked him. But, you know, just because he was doing it without me having to force him to do it. 'Cause you can't force a dog to hunt. There's some people out there that try. They whoop them and carry it on. You know, I'm not doing that. Now, with that, he was also pretty trashy there in the beginning. He was probably one of the harder dogs I had to break off armadillos. But once I got him off armadillos, he really broke himself off of possums. When Hunter, my oldest son, he's graduated high school now, Hunter, but when he was, man, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years old, when he would go with me with Crockett, we would shoot every possum, coon, possum, whatever. I would let Hunter shoot it out to him. And once we quit shooting possums and just started shooting coons, he broke himself off of it. Those are that was another thing that I liked about him. You didn't have to do a lot of, other than the armadillos. I don't know why that dog liked armadillos so bad. He just did. But the more I hunted him, the more he just became like my, just Chrome was she was my first real, just above average, excellent day or night dog, combo dog, do it all. But Crockett was my coon dog. If that makes sense. I mean, he didn't tree squirrels at night. Once he got to about 3-year-old, he was probably as solid of a coon dog as you want to hunt with. He would tree coons from the truck. He would win coons. He would run a track. He just made the what I look for in a dog. Leave my feet, get treed, any conditions, have a coon. He made it easy. Kind of ruined me, ruined me on. That's one reason I go through so many. I've had good dogs, and I know they're out there. I know when I'm messing with a pup, I can tell pretty quick if they're gonna be what I'm looking for or not. And if they're not, I'm moving them on. And Crockett's the reason behind some of that. I know what one can be, and I'm just not going to settle. I didn't, just not going to settle for less.
Gotcha. Did you say how old he was whenever he made it to you?
He was like 11 months and some change. He was not. He might have been a week before he turned a year old when I got him.
So he was really just about right out a year whenever you started.
Yeah, right at a year. Yeah, he. So Roger Bennett, Roger at the time Crockett's litter was born, Roger Bennett owned Crockett's mama, which was the Ridge Runner Spook dog, and he also had bought the at the time it was Nicholson's Tank, which later became Tim Coate bought him from Roger, and he became River Road Tank. But at the time of the breeding, I think he was still going by the name Nicholson's Tank, but Roger made the cross and he gave Crockett to his nephew, who back then, he hunted a bunch. His nephew did. I can't think of his name, but he got a job hauling bucking bulls for the rodeo, and Crockett just sat in the pen for probably 8 or 9 months. And Roger went back over and picked him up, brought him home, threw him, put him in the starting pen. Roger don't have kennels per se. He's got a big fenced in area like somebody's backyard that's got trees in it, and that's all of his dogs live in there, eat together, sleep together. And he put Crockett in there, and he'd I ain't gonna say treat some squirrels, but he had barked at squirrels, running to the treetops and all that. And then Chairman McQuarrie ended up getting him, and like I said, he opened on the ground too much for a squirrel dog. And that's what a lot of folks didn't like about him. Later on, is squirrel hunting got so popular, and folks were wanting those little old feist looking dogs, yappy mouths, and that did not open on track because they think that open trailing dogs scare the squirrels or something. So what I liked about him most is what other folks liked about him the least.
Gotcha. So what could you go a little deeper into what you actually did when you started him? Just hauled him to the woods or take him with other dogs, or what was that like?
When I'm starting a dog, whether it be a pup or whether it be like Crockett, at 10, 11, 12 months old, I hunt them all by themselves. There's no need. These curs are so smart, so intelligent. You do not have to take them with other dogs to teach them to tree. That I don't know why people think that. There's so many people, so many other guys that have proven that you take them by themselves. They pick up things. When they pick it up, they learn it better because they've done it by themselves and on their own. So that's what I done with Crockett. I didn't do nothing different. I took him to the woods, I hunt a lot. During the day, I try to hunt 4 days a week, and I try to hunt 5 to 6 nights a week. So when I started him out, I was driving in. I wasn't living where I'm at now. I was living close to town. So I had to drive 30 minutes. I'd get off work, go home, dinner, homework. I'd grab a dog. I'd grab him. I'd go to the woods, and we would hunt, even if it was just 30, 45 minutes. There's so much game here. I would take him to the private farms that I knew had the most squirrels. I took him at the times that I thought they would be moving. Generally here in Mississippi, it's in the summertime. It's hot. So squirrels are going to move right at daylight when it's the coolest. They're not going to move good the rest of the day. So in the heat of the summer, I would get up and I'd hunt him in the mornings. Well, let me back up, because I think summer was about, by the time he was really getting going good, I think summer was coming. We were coming into fall. And in the fall, squirrels move really early and then really late. And I would either get up and hunt him before work, or I'd get off work, grab him, get my chores done, and go to the woods. But the thing is, with giving them the opportunity, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, it's not going to get it with a dog like that. Taking them to the woods where if you hunt a mile and can only tree one squirrel, it's extremely hard to do. So I knew the places that had the most game and that didn't get hunted. Of course, I hunt all private land. I hardly ever hunt in public. So there's nobody hunting there but me. So everywhere I've got loaded with game. And that's what I did. I just took him to the woods every day. And I would cut him loose at the truck and just sit and wait on him to get treed. If he didn't get treed, I'd watch him. If he was hung up on, a track, I just would ease into him and move him along. Some folks say sit back and give that dog time to figure that track out. I don't want a dog thinking it's okay to get hung up and just beat a track to death. That ain't what I'm wanting. Move on. I would push him on until he could work a track that he could tree. I wanted to build his confidence. He was already a year old. I was already behind the curve anyway. So I just took him often. And I shot everything he treed, season or no season. Just, you want to know the truth about it. I just shot everything he treed. Some folks say dogs don't need everything that they tree. Whether they do or whether they don't, Mr. Garner needs everything. I want to shoot. I like to shoot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't go fishing and never try to catch a fish. So when my dog trees, I tell folks, and I learned this from a friend of mine, Terry Snyder. He told me, just like with Chrome and when I was starting Crockett, and everybody knows Crockett wasn't Terry's favorite dog anyway, but he still told me, the dog's job is to tree the game. Our job is to shoot the game. So that's what I've done. Even today, even my older dogs, if they tree it, I'm shooting. I don't.
So was he treating pretty consistent about the time you picked him up, or was there kind of an in between period there where you were taking him, not getting a lot of trees in?
I can't remember many times. Maybe early on when the leaves were still on, and because there's times when the leaves are falling heavy. I don't know if I really don't know if it's true or not, but when the leaves are falling heavy, some say, and I've seen it. I've seen it. A dog struggles. It seems like they struggle with tracks when the leaves are falling. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the heavy leaf coverage is covering the tracks, or maybe it's the fresh scent of the fresh leaves hitting the ground. I don't know what it is, but he seemed to slow down and struggle some there, mid to late fall. Once the leaves got off the trees, it was just like he picked right back up. And a lot of my dogs, especially male dogs, they have that folks call it the terrible twos or whatever they want to call it. But it seems like 17, 18 months to maybe, 25, 26 months, something like that. They get to where they just go through that dumb stage. Mark Morrison used to tell me you got to hunt them through the stupid, but Crockett just never. Once he started really consistently treeing, and I rolled him over to coons, he never went through that dumb, stupid stage that I remember. It just seems like once he picked it up, he had it, and other than armadillos, I mean, that was really the only thing. I never had any other problems with him. Despite what everybody said about him, the dog was not ill. I mean, I hunted him with everything out there, and he hunted well with other dogs. He treed with other dogs. Like I said, he just took off, and which was another thing that really made me. It just seemed like every time he turned around, he was doing something to, impress me and make me want to keep hunting him. It's easy to go hunting every night if you got a good dog that you like. That's one reason I get rid of dogs. If I don't like them, I'm not going to put my time into them. I'm not going to hunt them. And I just liked Crockett. I mean, I don't know. I've had some other dogs that were pretty nice, but I just didn't like them. And I just liked Crockett. I don't know. He was just he had a good personality. He liked to be petted and loved on. And, I mean, he was just my dog, I guess. He is my measuring stick when it comes to what I'm looking for now in a dog. Even with a hound, I mean, I measure curves, hounds, everything against Crockett at night.
Let's jump back to River Road Tank. You'd said earlier that you were the whole reason you ended up with Crockett was you were looking for something out of Tank. What can you tell me about Tank? I really don't know much about that dog.
So Tank, Daryl Nicholson is where Tank come from. And most everybody knows Daryl. Daryl's not a big coon hunter. He is a squirrel hunter. He hunts hard. He hunts. Always seems to have good dogs. Daryl's a dog man, and Tank was no exception. Then Daryl was doing a lot of competition hunting, and I think I don't want to. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong because it's been some years, but. John and Tommy Mears ended up with Tank, if I'm telling it right, and they put some wins on him in the comp hunts. I don't remember if they bought him. Well, at best I remember they paid pretty good money for him from Daryl and won some hunts with him. But Tank was a big built dog. He wasn't super tall, but he was stocky built, big old head on him. He had a big mouth. He was he had no streak, no jukebox blood, just all old busher, some of the old stuff, huntsman stuff, a lot of huntsman blood. I mean, he was just a beast of a dog, and once he ended up at Rogers and finally ended up at Tim's. Tim's a coon hunter like I am, and Tim started coon hunting him. And I just there's a picture that I don't remember if Rick Dennis or Tim Cope one posted this picture. The first time I ever seen a picture of Tank that I remember saying, well, what really drew me to Tank was there's a picture of Tank and Rick Dennis's old dog Molly standing on the tailgate with some squirrels there, and it's snowing, and I mean it is the picture perfect what I think a cur dog is supposed to look like. I mean, they both got big heads, mud flaps, big black brindle dogs, big feet, just big boned. And so I just started looking at him, and honestly, me and Terry Snyder were hunting a lot together, coon hunting a lot together. And in one of my most favorite coon dogs that didn't belong to me that I got to hunt with a lot and handle in hunts was Terry's Nicky dog, Dixie Creek Nicky. She wasn't a very big dog, but she was extremely fast. She hated the coon, more than any dog I've ever been in the woods with. And like I said, I hunted a lot of miles behind her. When we would go to hunts, if Chrome was in heat or I didn't have nothing to hunt, Terry would let me put her in hunts. And we were hunting one night, and he said, I think Nikki's coming into heat. He said, I think I'm going to breed her to that Nicholson's tank dog. He said, if I do, would you ride up there with me? And I said, yeah. So I'd already seen the pictures of him. And I said, hey, gum, I like the heck out of that, way he looks. And if he's good enough that Terry is thinking about breeding him to Nikki, I mean, he must be a sure enough dog. So that's really when I started looking into him. And at the time, I had Chrome and I had another dog I got from Terry, and I was struggling with the dog. He just wasn't going to be what I was looking for. So that's what got me searching for something off the tank. Now, Terry ended up not breeding to the tank. I don't remember why. I don't know if it was because it was probably 24-hour drive there and back. Maybe why we didn't go up there and breed. He ended up breeding her to Briar Mountain Bud or Briar Mountain Bill. I can't remember. I think it was Bill. But anyway, that's what got me looking at the tank dog. And then, of course, I started, I called Roger and I called Tim. And Tim's always been a good friend of mine. When I first come on to the cur dog scene, being as loud and outspoken and I'm kind of a cocky dude, and I don't think Tim really cared for me there at first, but I got a habit of growing on people. They can't, even folks that don't like me, they still like me deep down. They just don't say it. And me and Tim just become friends. And anyway, that's how I ended up getting up with Jeremy McCreary on Crockett. As things just kept, what I was looking for in a dog just kept leading me that way.
You said that Tank had a big mouth. Was he open and ball mouth like Crockett was as well?
He wasn't. Well, he was, but not like Crockett. At the time that I was hunting Crockett, I would say the big Sioux female that me and Tim Cope both owned, she was a big squall ball mouth dog like Crockett. Tank had a big ball mouth, but it wasn't the long, drawn out ball locates like Crockett did, and there were quite a few of the Kimmer dogs in. Crockett's bottom side was mostly Kimmer, and a lot of those dogs had the big locates, the ball mouth. And what a lot of folks, when they say my dog's got a ball mouth, it may have a little bit of a ball, when it first tree, maybe a little locate or a really tight triple chop that sounds like a ball, but there wasn't any of them that had a mouth like Crockett. I mean, he really had the true, what the hound folks call it, a dying ball locate.
Let's hear it. What did he sound like?
No, I ain't. I done drank too much to do that. I can tell you another friend of mine, Jackie Brady, years ago, right before one of the last squirrel hunts I did with Crockett, we were in the bottom on the river, and he treed in a big old den tree, and I was videoing, and it was so cold that every time he would open his mouth, it looked like, the steam was just blowing out of his mouth. Like a smokestack on an 18-wheeler or a locomotive or something, just blowing that smoke. And he was so loud in that big, long, drawn-out ball. That's where Jackie Brady's actually the one from that video that gave him the nickname, the Big Rig, from that video, just because he just had that long, drawn-out, ball locate. And it didn't matter if it was day or night, which, again, like I mentioned before, that's why a lot of folks didn't like the dog. I got, because of that, I got accused of, putting hound in the dogs and breeding hounds in the curs. And folks just couldn't understand the concept that a lot of your old stock stuff, your older busher dogs and a lot of your older Kimmer dogs, that's how they sounded. Before street came along, that's what dogs sounded like. Not all of them, but a lot of them. A lot of them were bigger built, bigger blocky heads, mud flaps, and you had a few that were because they were just breeding whatever to whatever. But that's what a lot of the dogs sounded like then.
Uh-huh.
And I tried my best to make more. I can't keep up with the squirrel hunters, man. They breed so much for squirrel hunting that the coon dogs. That's one thing. Another thing that made Crockett so special to me is he was different. He was not what everybody was wanting. He was what nobody. The only people that wanted him were the few old busher coon hunters. Nobody else wanted the poor dog, and I'm glad. In his lifetime, I couldn't even begin to say a number on how many coons that dog has treed and how many coons he treed in his life. I mean, I hunt anywhere from 150 to 250 a year for, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years.
That's a lot of coon.
13. Yeah. Oh yeah. He was, some nights, a really good friend of mine, Dallas McCullough, when I first met Dallas, he was probably 12 years old, didn't have a driver's license. And me and him had litter mates. The first cur that I got, was in 2008 or 9, and we had litter mates. So I would go pick him up and take him hunting with me. And of course, as he grew into an adult, he got into hounds, black and tans, and we still hunted together. But we hunted his black and tans, and he had a female black and tan named Girl. Black Girl was her name, and I had Crockett. And about every weekend, me and him were hunting together. By the time I got Crockett and started hunting, Terry didn't like Crockett, so we really didn't. We had kind of stopped hunting together by then. So me and Dallas was hunting about every night together, and there were nights that, if I was laid up or whatever, my wife, we wanted to go see a movie, or I hunt so much, the night she asked me not to hunt, I just don't go, because it's more important to me to go do stuff with her and my kids when they ask me. But there would be nights that Dallas would call and he'd go, "Hey, look, man, me and some other guys are going to go out and want to trade some coons tonight. Can I go get Crockett out of the kennel?" That's how special of a dog he was. Some of the hound guys would come and pick him up, and anybody could come get him out of the kennel and go tree 4, 5, or 6 coons. Me and Dallas would go and cut dogs loose, and his black dog would tear out of the country, and Crockett may roll in there 125, 150 yards and tree a layup. We would go in there and knock it out, and by the time we were seeing where his dog was at and getting the coon picked up, Crockett may be 300 yards treed with another one. We would just throw that coon in the middle of the trail, go down there and shoot another one, throw it in the trail. We just go down the tree line. He may tree 2 or 3 coons, and by that time, Dallas's dog may be in there, 3/4 of a mile deep treed with a coon. Not that he was any better. They was just 2 different style dogs. So I let a lot of folks come get him. Just go tree. He would go with anybody. You'd open the door. If you had a dog box and he thought you was going coon hunting, he'd go with you.
It sounds like he had a pretty good winded nose. Was he always, was that, would you say that's most the way that he hunted, or was he pretty tracky too? What was his nose like?
Well, he really could do it all. You've got some dogs that are better at winding a coon, and not so good at running. They'll run a track, but a lot of times it's going to be really hot, And then you have dogs that are really good at cold trailing and not so good at winding. And then you have those middle of the road dogs, and that's where Crockett was. Crockett was in the middle of the road. Early on, he wasn't the best winding dog. He would try to win, but he would miss them by a tree, maybe miss them by 2 trees. But the more I hunted him, the more opportunity he had to learn on his own. He just got better, and he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't the deepest hunting dog, and he didn't have the coldest nose of a dog I've ever hunted with. but he could work a good track, get it treed, or you could put him in the bed of the truck. He liked that. My toolbox on my old truck has a rail around the toolbox on it, and he liked to get on that toolbox, and we would just ride. I hunt, like I said, I hunt a lot of farmland, and we just ride these field edges. And if he bled out a big locate, I'd stop the truck, drop the tailgate, he'd get down. In just a few minutes, it'd be treed right there somewhere close. Especially if I had a bunch of kids in the truck and it was summertime, we'd just ride around and pretty much shoot coons out of the truck with him. So I mean, really, I mean, even though, I mean, some folks want to. I got the dog. He's the best cold trailing dog there. My dog's the best, winding dog that you've ever been with. But I like a middle of the road. I want one that can do it all. Put him in water, tree a coon. Put him in cut over, he's going to tree a coon. I took him to Dyersburg, Tennessee to a UMCA hunt one night. We got in some cut over. One tree left in this whole freaking cut over. He trees in it, has a coon. I mean, that's why I say he's my measuring stick still to this day. I just like a dog that can do it all.
Sounds like he was the one.
Well, you're not gonna go coon hunting on a perfect night every night you go. You're gonna go in bad conditions when the wind's blowing, and a dog might not be able to wind a coon. They're gonna have to be able to work a track if you're gonna get one treed. And then you're gonna go on a night. 2 nights later, you may go where the barometric pressure is dropping and the scent is falling, and them dogs can just run under a tree and smell a coon like that and get it treed and with no track. And I wanted, Crockett was just that dog that could do it all. And there's so many people that come to hunt with him. I have an open invite. My place is always, somebody wants to come coon hunt and kill a lot of coons. All they got to do is text me or call me and say I'm on my way, and they can stay here and we'll go tree coons. And I mean, it ain't just me talking. I mean, I didn't put him in too many comp hunts. As he got a little older, he did get a little growly. He's only been in one fight, but because he was such a big dog and a big mouth, and there was folks that already didn't like him, when I realized that he got about 5 years old, I guess, there'd been a time or two that, some male dogs would run up on him and he would stiff leg and maybe a low growl, which, I mean, honestly, if I don't know you and you run up in my face and stiff leg me, I'm probably going to growl too, or worse, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But when I tried to comp hunt him, and I realized that when he would tree or even if we were just standing there getting ready for a hunt and a dog would come, bow up on him or stiff leg at him or want to smell him or whatever, smell his butt or whatever, and he would let that low end growl, I just quit taking him to hunts because, I didn't want to take a chance on him jumping on somebody's dog. Well, he never did. He never jumped on the dog at any of the hunts I put him in. I put him in 3 hunts. He won 2 of them, and then I just quit taking him. So, and then later on, he did get into a street fight, and I hated it when he done it. And he done it 100%. And he jumped on my buddy Tim Coates' dog one night. We had been hunting. Tim had come down and stayed with me a couple nights, and we'd squirrel hunted my old whiskey dog and coon hunted. Tim brought his dog, and we took Crockett. We hunted one night, had a good hunt, man. I mean, didn't have not one trouble out of either dog. The next night, we cut loose both dogs same time, and it was just, man, we were having a good hunt. We done treed 2 or 3 or 4 coons, knocked them out. The last tree, I don't know what happened. It was just, Tim said one time before he thought he had heard Crockett growl, but he wasn't really sure. And I don't know, maybe 2 hours later, I thought they was in there fighting a coon on the ground. I realized they was fighting each other, and I got in, and Crockett had him whooped up real bad. I felt bad about it. I offered to take him to the emergency vet right then, he was bleeding pretty bad, had some puncture wounds, but Tim ended up, we just doctored him up there at the house, and Crockett never done it again. And never jumped on another dog, never growled. I mean, I don't know what it was, but that's what got him the bad reputation right there. Well, that really wasn't what got him a bad reputation. It was the folks that didn't like him running their mouth.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned trying to make more of him. How did he do as a reproducer?
He was not. He was crap as a reproducer. I ain't gonna lie about it. I mean, I bred him. First time I bred him was to Cypress Creek Babe, which was she was a heavy beady bred dog, and in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have bred him to one that was. She was pretty tight bred on beady stuff, and a lot of the heavy beady bred stuff they're not really bigger bred. They're not bigger dogs like I like. Some of her mates were kind of big. She was not big of a dog, but I wanted to see what he would produce. So I kind of talked myself into it. I'm not a big breeder. I'd rather hunt. But so anyway, I bred him, had 7 pups, and there was not one pup in the litter. Well, one pup in the whole litter made something. A decent squirrel dog. It never would tree coons. It had a huge ball mouth, but it just wasn't. It looked identical to Crockett, but about 30 pounds smaller. He just never. None of the pups were big. None of them opened on track like he did, and they were just duds. And so I didn't breed him for a while. I just went back to hunting him, and then me and Tim ended up getting the Big Sioux female. She was 70-pound, big, fat, wide-headed, big, long. She looked like a red brindle plot with a chopped off tail. She had a mouth. She probably had a mouth better than a lot of plots. Here lately, some of the plots I've hunted with, she even hunted better than they did. And well, me and Tim ended up getting her from Matthew Hall. I drove up to Jamestown and got her from Matthew Hall. And Big Sioux had been bred to Tree Knocking Ammo, which is by far one of the finest coon dogs I've hunted with. Big Sioux is actually the mama to Donnie McCurdy's Big Stomp. I think he won a world championship with him. Anyway, I bred Crockett and Big Sioux, wanting to get big ball mouth, open trailing coon dogs. And I thought she did a false pregnancy, like day 63 or no, it was day 71. Day 71, I went down to clean kennels and she wouldn't come out of her barrel. And I looked in her barrel to see if she was sick, and she had one yellow pup laying in there with her, still had a tail. I don't even know how long the puppy had been in the barrel, but I just grabbed it out of the barrel and took my pocket knife. I laid the pup on the ground and scraped my knife across the concrete and whacked its tail off and put it back in the barrel. Because at the time, I wouldn't give $2 for the best yellow coon dog that there was. I just didn't like a yellow dog. I hunted with a bunch. I just didn't want to own one. And I ended up giving him to a friend of mine, and ended up getting him back as a 4-year-old, and he made a really nice combo dog. A young man, after the tornado hit us, I gave him to a young man. That's still a good. I took him with Chrome and Crockett. He killed his first squirrel and first coon with my dogs when he was probably 14. Now he's a grown man, got his own house. He still has the yellow pup. That one yellow pup is still alive. I think he's, 10 or 11, something like that, maybe. Slowed down a lot. He still hunts him some, but that dog made something. So, but it didn't make nothing in my house because I didn't like the color. The next time she come into heat, which she only come in once a year. Next time Big Sioux come in, I bred him again. I had 4 pups. I gave Tim Coat one. Kyle Baker got, again, she had another albino brindle one. Kyle Baker got it. And then John Mears and Matt Balk got one, and then I kept one. The one I kept was the laziest puppy I'd ever seen. She would just jump. The one Tim got, I don't think really made much. He ended up giving it to some hog hunters. The one Matt Balkin got, that female got swapped around a little bit. She got bred. She never did make much. Ended up dying. The one that Kyle Baker kept, probably one of the finest. Kyle Baker said one of the finest combo dogs that he's ever owned. Matter of fact, Kyle Baker's wife is who the dog belongs to.
That's the Sam dog.
That is Sick'em Sam. They love the dog, so it's just kind of ironic that I bred Crockett and my Chrome female one more time to see what he would produce. See if he would do anything with Chrome, because Chrome was an outstanding reproducer. And I think she had 9 or 10 pups. One of them made okay. Rest of them Crockett he just was not a good reproducer. As good of a dog as he was, and as good of a coon dog he was, he just couldn't pass it along, except for the 2 ugliest pups he ever had in his life. The two albino brindles. Both are huge, big dogs, big ears, big ball mouths, open on track, just coon treaters, just like him. And I don't have anything off of the Crockett. He wasn't a good enough producer for me to ever. I never bred him again after that. I think a guy about an hour and a half from me come down and bred his female to him. She had 15 pups. She was Briar Mountain Bud and something else. She had some Kimmer in her and maybe a touch of streak on the bottom. I had 15 pups. I think she raised 11 of them. And one of those made a really nice dog. Big brindle, blanket back, nice squirrel dog. The guy don't coon hunt. But the rest of them didn't make nothing. And it just happens that way sometimes. I mean, sometimes the best dogs just are crap in the breeding pen, And you got guys out there that got dogs that they've never hunted, and they breed, might have a litter and have 5 world champions out of it.
Where did Crockett end up later in his life?
So I got into a jam with I'm not going to go into. I had to get my family. Where my family was living was in a really bad spot, and some things had went down, and some police got involved, and some FBI agents got involved, and I had to leave. I had to break camp, so I was selling everything that wasn't nailed down, including my dogs. I sold all my dogs, and Chrome went first, and then Whiskey, and I held on to Crockett to the end. My wife was begging me not to sell him, but I needed the money, and so I sold him to a guy in North Carolina. And I told the guy that I said, man, he's not a squirrel dog. I ain't squirrel hunted this dog in probably 6 or 7 years. And he said, man, I'm going to coon hunt him, So I sold him to him, and he took him up there and tried to squirrel hunt him and tried to road hunt him. Crockett was not a road hunting dog. He just did not. He could be treed in there 500 yards with 10 coons in his tree looking at him, and you crank a truck, and he was leaving the tree coming to you. He just was not a. You couldn't road hunt him. You try to road hunt him, he just would stand in front of the truck. So anyway, he wasn't really happy with him, and he sold him to another fella in West Virginia, I think, and pretty much the same thing. He bred him one time, didn't have no luck with. I think all the pups ended up dying, and he just never. When he left my house, he just wasn't the same dog. He never hunted. He never hunted for anybody else like he hunted for me. And so Kyle Baker ended up. I tried to buy him back when he was older, and I just couldn't get him bought. And then Kyle ended up getting him bought, which was fine. I was glad Kyle got him, and he ended up dying. Now Kyle hunted him after that some. He was never, like I said, he just was never what he was when he left here. I don't know. I hate to kind of sound all mushy and stuff, but I don't know if it just broke his heart when I sold him. I know it broke my wife's heart, but He just wasn't the same when he left, and he ended up dying at Kyle's. I wished I would have had foresight enough to have him drawn, maybe. I don't know why he wasn't good of a producer, but I would just like to have, even if I didn't use a straw, I'd like to have one laying around, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Once he was gone, Kyle's a super good friend of mine, has been for a long time. And we were just talking one day, and I was like, man, you still got Crockett's up papers? He's like, yeah, I still got all that. I was like, man, could I buy them from you? He's like, heck no. I sent him my address, and I got Crockett's papers here at the house.
Nice.
And the guy that I sold him to mailed me all my dogs used to wear them old leather studded collars.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Crockett's and Big Sue's. I got both their old leather collars hung up in my shed out back.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of pictures, a lot of memories of him. If I could go back and do it again, I wouldn't have sold him. But, can't go back.
Yep, that's life.
Yeah.
That is life.
Yeah, live and learn. I try to do a lot of things different now.
Well, Jeremy, I sure do appreciate you coming on here and talking about your dog with us.
Man, yeah, I appreciate you calling and wanting to hear about him. Like I said, I love the dog, and there's a lot of folks that come and hunted with him that absolutely loved him. And there was a bunch of folks that never laid eyes on the dog that hated him. I don't know if they hated him or if they hated his owner's mouth. One of the two. But anyway, he was special to me and special to my family, and even all this time he's been gone, folks still ask me about him and still talk about him, and so that's just something else that those special dogs are the ones that stay with you.
Yep. Well, that pretty well wraps up the time we got for this episode. Everybody take care and keep wearing out that boot leather. I just want to give everyone that's listening a sincere thank you. Getting this podcast going has been a project. I really hope you're enjoying it, and if you don't mind, give the show a good rating and review wherever you're listening to it at, or share it on your social media to help get some traction. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.